Good afternoon, I'm Madonna, this is Sinoux, and I'm going to be doing a surrogate balance for a client who can't make it into the clinic. He's suffering a lot of anxiety and stress, and so we're doing a surrogate balance for him so that his brain can function better. So that's our intent this afternoon, to help his brain. So let's have a look. So whenever we start a surrogate balance, we basically make sure the intent is for this, the human on the table is not the human on the table. We're asking their energy to be the energy of the person we're doing the surrogate for. So basically, there's a little process we do. And hold together, and hold apart. And I've actually got a picture of this client on the wall, so energetically I'm connecting to him as well. So basically we've got Sinoux actually being the energy of our client. So now what we're after is to see what level of stress he's under, because he's not in a very good situation in his day-to-day life. So firstly, pulling on the flexor hallucis longus, hold up for me. And hold up for me. Now there's just no energy in the arm there. If I undo the foot, hold, the arm's strong, so it's when I pull on that flexor hallucis longus, which is stretching that toe muscle. It doesn't want to be stretched. It wants to claw itself into the world to keep it safe. You can imagine that tightness, that's grounding, that's keeping us, it's keeping us on our feet. So basically that one there tells me that the body's running on adrenaline. Hold, that one's fine. That's survival switching. Hold, that's deep survival. Hold. So this hidden deep survival, that's actually a surprise, because this guy is actually literally in a situation every day where potentially he feels like his life is in danger. So that's really not too bad to just have one hidden deep survival pattern running. So let's have a look. Do we need to do, yeah, right, I'm already starting to feel some real hard energy for him. Okay, so we're gonna need to just quickly take a few drops of a flower essence. I muscle tested up with flower essences whether there was something that we were going to need, and funnily enough, we picked 6. So the one that's starting is Crowea. Now Crowea is an Australian bush flower essence that basically helps to, it does a whole bunch of balancing. The concept of it is that when we take Crowea, it is the equivalent of a 14 muscle balance. So it helps to pick up energy to all the major organs and meridians in the system. It's 5 drops, it's a fairly chunky dose. Anytime we're doing surrogacy balances, anything the surrogate takes, I take as well, to keep ourselves in the energy of the client. Let me know if that settles down. I feel like it's starting to settle for me. Okay, now, do we need to do anything before going into the hidden deep survival pattern? We do. Do we need to do celestial circuit? We do. So the celestial circuit is the connection between the conscious and unconscious pathways of the brain. So the central meridian, beginning and end points, and then tailbone, and just below the nose, they're the end points of the governing meridian. So, but I also check. So I've got 3 points on the roof of the mouth that I do, which are also governing meridian points. Hold. So that's asking if the body's conscious brain and unconscious brains are communicating. Right, so it's the left side of the body that's out of kilter, not the right side. So right side, you can imagine being that sort of energy all day, every day. He's living in his masculinity. He's trying to keep himself safe. So that's the strong side. His caring, nurturing side has run away. It's like, nah, if I spend any time caring or nurturing, I'm going to be eaten by the tiger. So we just need to do a little process to help to balance out the energy. So it's called the celestial circuit, and it connects the conscious and unconscious hemispheres of the brain. Wow. Can you feel the adrenaline in that? Mm-hmm. It's like the pulsing points are really frenetic. Anything more we need to do for the celestial circuit? There is. More of the same, more of something else. So more of something else. We can use another flower essence. Okay, so this one's a little bit of Waratah. Waratah is for when you've lost your ability to, it's about survival actually. It's for when your brain's forgotten your survival skills. So it can end up leading you to depression because you don't know who you are when you don't know what to do to move forward. So if you can't find solutions to your life, you end up feeling like you're flailing around, and who am I if I can't deal with the stuff going on? So 4 drops. Okay, so now let's, oh, sorry. Is there anything else we need to do for the celestial circuit? No, so it's saying no, so let's just double check it. And hold. Beautiful. So now we're going back into the deep hidden survival pattern. And hold. Yeah, so no surprise that's still there. I mean, 1 in 100 times if you clear the celestial circuit, sometimes the survival stuff disappears, but they are quite different things. The survival stuff can be there because the celestial circuit's being challenged, but quite often deep survival stuff is about more than that. It's about incidences in your life that have decided life is never, ever, ever going to be easy again. So therefore the survival patterns are there deliberately to keep you safe. And it can mess with everything in your body. So it can mess with your digestion, your immune system, your ability to think, your ability to concentrate, your ability to problem solve. So you might be the most fantastic dude at school, but all of a sudden be unable to do, you know, 7 7s is 49 because your brain just can't quite work when we're deliberately switching off our conscious brain. Anyway, we'll sort of see what shows up with this deep hidden survival pattern. So basically the particular pathway we're going into is called the periventricular survival system. And this dude also, he's got quite a lot of post-traumatic stress going on. Not so much OCD. He was quite an ADHD child as well, so there was a lot of frenetic energy his whole life. Okay, so the first area showing up is the anterior cingulate gyrus. This area is to do with picking on yourself for not being perfect under stress. Hold out. So it's that part of the brain that when we've done something that we're not proud of, like just say you're having a bad day and you happen to snap at the person at the petrol station, and then you're picking on yourself for the next 3 days about it because you go, oh gee, you know, that person really wasn't to blame. Quite often we're just kicking ourselves in the butt over and over and over again. And this part of the brain that is the part that wants us to be perfect all the time, especially when we're under stress. And there's real fear, threat, danger there in relation to doing the wrong thing under stress. Okay, the next little area showing up is the orbitofrontal cortex. And hold. It's pretty good. Now that one, interestingly, it's a cortex that's in underneath the logical and creative hemisphere. So there was a lot more energy than there was in the other one. This guy does a lot of visualization and stuff, so he's aware of the power of keeping the brain nice and active. When this area shows up, it's because our brain has made a decision and but we've been in survival, so therefore the brain doesn't believe we've made the correct decision. It believes we've made a decision under duress. So therefore it keeps the decision going around and around and around and around in our brain. So it can drive us crazy. It's those thoughts that you can't get out of your head. So this little part of the brain, there's 2 things driving it. It's fear, threat, danger in the amygdala circuitry, as well as switching off the pleasure reward centers. So the brain doesn't want to accidentally relax because it wants the brain to believe the solution is a good solution. So this helps to reconnect the decision to the logical and creative parts of the brain. And hold. Yeah, right, okay, so we've gone from 2nd stage to 3rd stage or 2nd stage to 1st stage stress there. So we've gone from a nearly lock to an unlock, which it depends where we are on the stress circuit as to what that's done, but we obviously need something else. We need another flower essence. Flower essences have a little bit of brandy in. We're having our afternoon brandy, Sinoux and I. So this time it's, okay, it's fringed violet showing up. Fringed violet is for when there's been an attack on the psyche. There's been some trauma or incidents that has damaged the body or the brain or the soul or the energy so that it's hard to get by. It's one of those big causes of post-traumatic stress. And it's hard to let go of that stuff then, because this, yeah, I'm starting to feel it in my chest again.
Cough.
Yeah. And Sinoux just said she feels like coughing, so the lungs are about grief, guilt, regret. The heart energy feeds the lung energy. They're very much connected in Chinese medicine. In fact, the heart energy is the grandmother energy of lung energy. So when we're feeling grief-stricken, it's often that love, joy, hate in the heart energy that sort of chills it all out, calms it all down. Okay, next little area showing up is the reticular activating system. What I'm doing here, by the way, that's double hidden, double suppressed. So I'm basically saying to the body, don't hide anything from me. It's all going to be safe. It's all going to be okay. So it's saying double hidden, double suppressed, because I'm doing it with the other hand as well. And it just lets me keep on getting into these nice deep areas of the brain where stuff really takes hold. So reticular activating system. So basically they're the coordinates for the reticular activating system, and this controls what hormones we release when something new is happening in our lives. And what this is doing is switching off his serotonin. So in this circuitry, spleen 21 is to do with switching off serotonin. And that's creating vigilance in his nervous system. So serotonin is calming, nurturing, relaxing. It's, you know, it's a feel-good hormone. It's one of the feel-good hormones. It's only 1% of the neurotransmitters in the brain, but gee, when it's out of whack, it's really out of whack. It affects so many things. But the nervous system goes into vigilance. So the brain looks for the things to go wrong when we're in PTSD. So if we've got post-traumatic stress, of course the nervous system's waiting for the next thing to go wrong. The nervous system's going, don't you dare come near me with that attitude. Don't you come near me with that mood. I just need to calm down, chillax, you know. So the brain's constantly looking for the next thing to go wrong. Okay, there's another RAS circuit. There's not always, but there's nearly always more than one. And this time, so because of the lack of serotonin, it's creating the noradrenaline circuitry. Oh, okay, but this time his brain wants to implode. So I'll just get you gently to put 2 fingers either side of your nose. So that's large intestine 20. So large intestine is about grief, guilt, regret. So it's when his body starts running on noradrenaline, the nervous system assumes something bad's going to happen, so he wants to go into his man cave. So those points at the side of the nose in this circuitry are about wanting to hide away, wanting to not be seen, not wanting, you know, so not wanting to be part of society, the world, the family, just wanting to hide away. Because we're safer on our own. No one can hurt us if we're on our own. Okay, beautiful. Okay, nothing else is showing up within this deep hidden survival pattern, so let me just check it on the body and hold. So that's actually locking. So now what I might do is go check some conscious pathways of the brain. So that pathway we've just done, the periventricular survival pattern, it lives underneath the brain stem. So it's involved in all that stuff that's to do with unconscious thinking. So it's in the same part of the brain as digestion, as heart rhythm, as breathing, all of those, digestion, all the things that we should have zero control over. That's where this survival pattern lives. So it's basically a little program that's been whacked in there because life hasn't thrown you balloons the whole time. So now what we're going to do is check some of the more conscious pathways the ones that actually affect our day-to-day lives. So, well, survival stuff does as well, but we need the conscious brain to be really up and running. So firstly, let's just check in relation to the corpus callosum, which connects the two sides of the brain. Hold out. There was a bit of energy in there, not too bad, but it wasn't a lock. A lock in kinesiology terminology means that there's 50% energy there, but there was a bit of energy there, so it wasn't like 10, 20, you know, there was something there. Anyway, so it's fear, threat, danger that shuts down the corpus callosum. So the corpus callosum is like that fast energy circuitry that connects the two sides of the brain. When we are having panic attacks, quite often the corpus callosum is working at less than 30% function. People with PTSD, it's often even lower than that. It's very, very hard to grab that connection between the logical and creative hemispheres of the brain. And again, hold. Beautiful. Now, one of the main things that connects the left and right sides of the brain is trust and trust issues. And hold. Okay, so once again, it's fear, threat, danger. So if you've trusted someone in the past and they've let you down, and that has become a big pattern in your world where trust is just not something you can do, every time you're out there in the world, your brain is constantly, once again, assuming you're going to get hurt. So it's fear, threat, danger. There's a real fear, threat, or danger around trusting someone. Trust and trust issues. It often takes, 10, 20, 30 seconds, sometimes a minute to diffuse these little amygdala points through here. And hold. And what I'm waiting for is a pulse underneath my fingers. So the next little area I'm going to check is the anterior commissure. It's the nerves going to the frontal cortex. And hold out for me. Yeah, okay. So it's the lack of pleasure reward in his life that's shutting down that frontal cortex. You can imagine some of the neurotransmitters we need to make that frontal cortex happen are things like serotonin and dopamine, the feel-good hormones. So when we don't have enough good stuff going on in our life, or the nervous system is deliberately switching them off so that we stay vigilant, it means that the brain simply isn't getting the neurotransmitters it needs to open up the frontal cortex, and that's where we do our problem solving. Anyway, so it's a lack of pleasure reward in his life that's shutting down the frontal cortex. And again, hold. Beautiful. And the main thing that shuts it down, is basically sadness, despondency, depression, so those real feelings of life's never going to get better, or is this going to be happening to me for the rest of my life? And again, hold. Yeah, right. And that one there's the amygdala circuitry, and that is to do with pain and punishment. So because the body has a hard time moving forwards if it can't actually find something fun, worthwhile to move towards. When we're stuck in the past, it's easy to let life pass us by. So when we're stuck in an old pain and punishment circuit, your brain can go, I can't try anything new, because if I try something new, I'm going to get hurt. So this starts to unravel those little pathways where new stuff is going to create pain and punishment. Pain and punishment circuits are nearly always set up as a child. Not always, but often. You know what they say about the brain? It's a big computer that's been programmed by 2-year-olds. Sadness, despondency, depression. And again, hold. Beautiful. And I'm just going to finish off with a couple of little hippocampus circuits. So firstly, this is left to right hippocampus. Hold out for me. Once again, not too bad. So I'd say around that 50% energy, or just under. So the hippocampus is a memory center. On the left, we saw, you know, we actually store people's names in the left hippocampus. We store the faces on the right hippocampus. So sometimes when you're walking down the street and you go, oh, I know that person, as someone you've known for 20 years. It's that lack of connection between the left and right sides of the brain. So and then of course we have the fear of failure. Oh my gosh, I don't know their name. I'm going to look like a nincompoop. So, you know, that fear just can drive so many little things, and then that can cause social phobias because we feel stressed every time we see something if we can't remember who they are instantly. But yeah, it's fear, threat, danger driving that lack of connection between the two hippocampi. And again, hold. Now, the two major things that shut it down are fear of failure and fear of success, so we'll check them individually. So firstly, fear of failure. And hold. Oh man, it was nearly good. So once again, about 50% energy, so he's obviously been working on that, around feeling less stressed. Once again, the fear of failure is linked in with an old pain and punishment circuit. I'm just going to check a chart on my wall about what age this might have kicked in. So at the moment, he's in his 30s. So we'll sort of just ask the body. So in his 30s, 25 to 30, 20 to 25, 15 to 20. So 15 to 20, 15 to 16, 16 to 17, 16 to 17, 16, 16 and a half, 16 and a half to 17, 6, 6, 6, 7, 6, 8, 6. You know, so around 16 years, 9 months. So around that age, there was a pain and punishment circuit that's set up. Yeah, right. So, and the big stress going on at that time, because that's when we're supposed to be maturing and setting our identity within our family and our peers. And at the time, the two things showing up is that he felt like he really had to be responsible for himself and that other people weren't helping him. And the second thing is that he didn't feel like he belonged anywhere. So he didn't feel like he had a group he belonged with or peers he belonged with or felt like he belonged in his family. So it set up quite a big pain and punishment circuitry for him. Was that fear of failure? Yes, fear of failure. And hold. Beautiful. And let's check fear of success. And hold. Okay, so fear of success is also showing up, which you can imagine means his poor little brain's between a rock and a hard place, because if you fear of failure, then you're not going to get started doing things, because if you get started, you might actually fail. But fear of success is the same thing. Oh my gosh, what if I don't do it as well as my parents wanted? What if I don't do it as well as I want for myself? If I'm a perfectionist, you're setting yourself up for failure every day of your life. So something's going on where his nervous system has both of them going on. Fear of failure as well as fear of success. And once again, that was fear, threat, danger. So there's a real fear of success, a fear of succeeding. And you wonder then where that comes from. So sometimes it's the words you hear on the news about people who succeed, and are they the people who sort of would walk over their, you know, mother to get whatever they want? Or did it come from his parents or his grandparents? Has it come from something that he's known with his peers where being successful is not a good thing? Perhaps the tall poppy syndrome or something like that. Maybe he was clever at school and got picked on about it, you know. So you never know where this fear of success comes from, but it comes from somewhere. It doesn't just magically appear. Fear of success. And hold. Okay. Okay, is there anything else we need to do to complete this circuitry? Yes, there is. So I'm just going to scan a few parts of the brain. CC, trust, A, B, C, D, oh, okay. No, okay. So, all right, I might do, yeah, I've got a few minutes. So there's actually some little parts of the brain that are to do with integration of information. So when we're stressed, we don't integrate information as well as we should. So I'm going to check, there's actually 2 that are shown up, but there's 4 I'm going to check to see just to see. So firstly, the first one's Wernicke's to Wernicke's. And hold, and that one's locking. So that's the words we speak matching to the thoughts behind the words. So that's actually fine. The second one, and hold, is brokers. So that's so basically we need the thoughts behind the words to be a communication link. So there's a glitch going on between brokers and Wernicke's. So it means that sometimes he might get halfway through a sentence and he might forget what he was saying, or basically he might get halfway through, see the look on someone else's face and think, oh gee, maybe this is going to make them angry, I might stop what I'm going to say. So his brain might implode mid-sentence if he's feeling he's in a threatening situation. It's fear, threat, danger in relation to getting the thoughts and the words communicating. So we'll sort of help. But once again, what this is doing is helping those pathways to communicate better under stress. So it's not going to put him in a situation where he's going to say something that's going to get him beaten up. It's going to put him in a situation where he's hearing and comprehending easier, so he's more likely to be able to pick those positions and say the correct things. And hold, beautiful. The third one back is the auditory integration points. And hold out. Oi, okay. So this one's to do with what people are saying and whether we understand it. So the words that people are saying and are we comprehending it, as well as the thoughts we're saying to ourselves. So sometimes, you know, when you have something you're trying to sort out, and, you know, sometimes we speak rubbish to ourselves. It might have no basis on the truth or no basis on anything going on, but our brain goes into an implosion, you know, because we're telling ourselves the worst possible scenario times, you know, 100. You know, our brains go to weird spaces when we're under stress. And hold, beautiful. And then the last ones are rip and lip. And hold, beautiful. Hold. Might just tweak it anyway. Pretty good. Like obviously that was nearly was practically a lock. There's a little bit of escape submission freeze in here. So the last ones, rip and lip, are the left integrative points and right integrative points. So those pathways, they're huge. They're actually all of the incoming visual and auditory memories, short and long term, as well as the outgoing auditory and visual memories, short term and long term. So when we are under stress and we need our brain to remember the stuff that's happened so we can learn from it, if these areas of the brain aren't working, we're not learning from our mistakes. We keep doing it over and over again, and that's just not a lot of fun. And the brain goes into escape mode when that's not working. So it's escape submission freeze, that little point down there. So that's just been oh, actually, we'll finish off with chakras. Just sort of check them. Bit interesting knowing a bit of history about this guy. That really wasn't too bad from a survival pattern and from what's working in the brain and what's not. What I would do when someone is constantly in a traumatic, you know, if someone's in a traumatic marriage, if someone's in a traumatic workplace, if someone's in jail, if someone's just in a situation where every day they're feeling threatened, if someone's come back from war, you know, the guys in the Army and Air Force and that sort of thing, you know, their nervous systems are still primed for stress. So sometimes these survival patterns need to be done every, say, 3 to 6 weeks for some time to just keep unraveling the nervous system, because let's face it, it's not a one-hit wonder. It's the sort of thing that takes time to unravel these stress circuits. No surprise, it's the base chakra showing up, and this little point down here is just a point for the adrenal glands. So when our base chakra is not working as well, it's just harder to feel safe and grounded and secure and happy. So I hope that's been interesting to watch, and we'll see you all again soon. Thanks, Sinoux.